Hello, and welcome to the A Quilting Life podcast. I'm Sherry McConnell from A Quilting Life, and I'm here today kind of by myself. Billy's actually over across the room from me, but we are having a special guest today. So I'm actually taping this introduction a little bit early. The day that you're watching it, I actually have just gotten home from vacation, from a sewcation, actually. And so we got this all prepared ahead of time, and I'm super excited to have a terrific guest for you all today. Before we get started, though, I do want to mention our sponsor, Cozy Earth. We love Cozy Earth, and especially now that it's November, it is time to start thinking about your Christmas gift list, and I have a couple of Cozy Earth suggestions. Of course, you want to make quilts for everyone that you can, but to go along with those quilts, can I recommend the bamboo pajamas? They are absolutely wonderful. Chelsea and I both have a pair. Billy's wife, Isabel, has a pair, and we all love them equally. They are soft. They are perfect in the summer, and they are actually wonderful in the winter too, all time of the year. The bamboo from viscose fabric is just so wonderful. You've probably also heard us talk about our bubble cuddle blankets, and of course want to recommend that as well. Right now, we have a 40% off discount using our code, and you can use the code of Quilting Life or use the link from the description below. But thank you so much for supporting our sponsor, Cozy Earth. If you do get a post-purchase survey, please mention that you heard about them from the A Quilting Life podcast. Okay, I'm just sitting at my sewing table, and we actually do have, it's not really a listener quilt, but it's a really special quilt. I got to see the winners of the 50 Years with Moda quilt contest quilts. They were all on display at Quilt Market, and I got to meet a couple of the makers. Actually, I think it was the teen category, actually met the winner of that quilt and contest. And I also met the first prize winner of the pieced category, and that was Chris Nelson. She stopped by our booth and I got to visit with her. She was lovely. And so we went out and took a picture in front of the quilt. I think I might be slightly pointing towards our green fabric, which was in the bundle of fabrics, and which, by the way, it was really fun to see how people used our fabric in their projects. So yeah, we've also got a picture that Billy's going to pop up that is just more of a close-up of the quilt. Okay, so I guess it's time to head into our interview. I am super excited to have Kaitlyn Howell of Knot and Thread. Caitlyn and I go back a long, long way. Fun story. She used to quilt some of my quilts back when she was in high school, working at a quilt shop called Quilted Works in St. George, Utah. And I met her when she was a teenager, and we just have been friends ever since. She is an incredible sewist and designer. She has some terrific, terrific patterns. I'm actually currently working on one of her patterns, her kind of famous patchwork duffel bag. And with that being said, we're just going to hop over to the interview, and I know you'll enjoy it. She's just a lot of fun. Okay, I'm here today with Kaitlyn Howell of Knot and Thread Designs. I'm super happy to have Kaitlyn here. We were just talking for a minute before we got started, and we realized that we have known each other for about almost 20 years. So fun to have you. Thank you.
And I can't believe it's been that long.
Yes, it's been quite a journey. And, I feel like just even my early quilt markets, you were there too. So
I saw Sherry at Quilt Market, and I was telling her, I'll never forget the time when she told me that she was going to be releasing her first fabric collection. And I was like, so excited for you and Chelsea. So it's like amazing. I think I even sewed a few samples of your very first collection for you. I did.
You made some. Yeah, you made one of my quilts.
A couple of the quilt tops. That one. Anyways.
Yes. And then we've used your patterns in our booth like almost from the beginning too. So I just finished up a patchwork duffel, and I've made tons of
Athena crossbodies.
the Athena crossbody
Yeah.
bag, and Olivia's baskets. Is that
Yep.
another one? Yeah, I was thinking of all. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started and have you just kind of introduce yourself, first of all, for those who might not be familiar with you yet. And
Yeah, of course.
then we'll get started. Yeah.
Great. My name is Kaitlyn Howell. My business is Knot and Thread Design, and I have had my business for 9 years now, which is wild. It's just wild how the years stack up. And I first got my start as a long arm quilter, and I worked at a local quilt shop, and I was so lucky to live in the same community as Annie from byannie.com and Patterns by Annie. And she recruited me to work for her. So I think I was about 21, 22 when she was like, come work for me. So I worked for her for about 3.5 years. And she's still one of the best business mentors I've had and such a great employer to work for. But I learned so much about running a small business and pattern design and bag making. I had made lots of bags prior to working for her, but I had never done bags with Soft and Stable, which is her product. And so I fell in love with quilted bags because I was a diehard quilter, and then I became a diehard bag maker, a quilted bag maker, because I feel like there's kind of a difference now with
Yes.
making bags and quilted bags.
Yes.
But quilted bags just spoke to me because it's just like quilting with a bag. So lots of the techniques translated really well. And so I worked for her for about 3.5 years, and then I moved because I decided to go back to school. So I moved to northern Utah. I live in Orem, Utah, and I met my husband like 2 weeks later, which was just a wild ride. And we were married a year later. So we've lived in Orem now. Let's see, I moved in 2015, so it's been 10 years since I
Wow.
moved to Orem, and we've been married 9 years, and we have 2 kids. I have a little girl named Violet and a little boy named Archie. And I started my long arm quilting business right after we got married in our 2-bedroom, 800 square foot apartment. It was fun. And there was just quilts everywhere. And then I wrote my first pattern in 2016 as well. So um, now I have, I think, 26 patterns in my pattern library,
Oh.
which it just feels exciting because I remember when I wrote like pattern 3 and 4 and thought, oh, I'll never have even 10. I remember when I bought 10 barcodes and I thought I'm never going to use 10 barcodes. And I love that I get to buy barcodes.
How many of your patterns are quilts and how many are bags?
That's a great question. I think I have like 5 quilt patterns,
Okay.
about something like that. I write way
Okay.
more bag patterns than quilt patterns.
Yeah.
And I feel like my quilt patterns are like more just passion projects
Okay.
than like for business. I don't know if that makes sense. I love quilting, but I love making other people's quilt patterns. So
Yeah.
I write quilt
Yeah.
patterns every sprinkled in. So
Anything else? I kind of interrupted you, I guess, from your introduction. Anything else you wanted to say until I kind of bumped in?
let's see. Yeah. So I have 2 employees that work with me now that help me with all of the quilting. So we still do long arm quilting 40 hours a week, and then I do pattern design and everything else. We have an online shop, and yeah, I think that's it.
That's it. That's awesome. And do you have 2 quilting machines or just 1?
Yeah, I have 2. I have 2
Okay.
Gamel Statlers. So
Okay.
yeah,
And
we
that's what I was thinking. I thought I remembered that you had so much quilting going on that you did get another machine.
So when we finally got into a home after we moved out of our tiny apartment, I was like, I only want a house if it's big enough to have 2 long arms. So that
Right.
was like my number one criteria when looking for a house. And thankfully, we found a house with a big open basement. And so I've pretty much taken over the entire basement. I have a room, which I'm in now, that I film, do lives and film. I have like one online course for a bag that I call Bag Making for Quilters. That's like a beginning, like I designed a bag. It's this bag here. I'll show you. Um, it's called the Janet May purse, and I wanted it to have all of the techniques that you would need to learn, like binding and strap and hardware. And there's 2 different zipper techniques and just all of the different things. So I designed this bag so that it could be like learn all the skills to make all the bags. So this was why we set up the studio, so we could film our first class. So I hope to do more classes in the future, but we'll see.
Oh, that's awesome. I have that pattern and it's on my list to make also. I've seen some really great versions of that as I've been teaching. And whenever I see one of them, I think, I have that at home. I got to go home and make it, and
I'd love
that's how I
that.
was with the patchwork duffel too. And I finally got it done.
I'm so glad you made it. Your rainbow version is so cute.
Yeah. I wanted to use as many of our fabrics as I could. So
I have to jump in and ask a question already. Yeah, when you said that you started your long arming in an 800 square foot apartment, 2 bed. So did you already have kids at that point or not
No.
yet?
No.
Okay. So the other bedroom was probably just the long arm machine, I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually bought a smaller table. Like they had to custom cut down the table to be a 10-foot table because I couldn't fit a larger one. And I took the doors off the closet because I had to put a table in the closet. That's where I sewed.
Okay.
And there was like probably maybe 1.5 feet between like the back of the bar and my sewing chair.
Wow.
It was like so packed in there. My husband was such a trooper because he's a musician and he's like, this is going to be our sewing and music room. And I was like, or just the sewing room. So thankfully now he has his own studio here in our home. But
Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah, because when you said that, it wasn't this past quilt market, but the previous year in 2024, my wife and I went and we looked at some long arm machines, but we live in a 2-bedroom apartment right now. And our other room's fairly big. I think it could, but I always was thinking the same thing, like maybe when I get a house and everything. But hearing that you did it in a tight space, it makes me think, oh, maybe we could do something sooner than that.
it was really an exciting time because I was in school, but I really didn't love school and I just wanted to sew. And I was like, I want to start a business. And I had just left the job with Annie and I was actually working for her at the time, sewing samples. I was like an independent contractor, sewing bag samples for her. So I was kind of just sewing for my job. And I was like, I need something. I want to write patterns, but I want an income to kind of supplement while I build a pattern catalog, right? And my husband was like, well, you got to save your money. I'm like, I'm not going to let you buy that machine. You have to have, because they're not cheap.
Yeah.
They're pretty expensive machines. And I was like, I promise I will pay the rent and I'll pay the machine. Like that's the goal. And I'm so grateful that he let me take the risk and supported me in that because he was really hesitant. But I already knew because I had been in the industry. I'm like, I have people. I think I even quilted a quilt for you, Sherry, at the beginning because I reached out to some of my designer friends and said, hey, if I quilt a quilt for free, will you share about it? Because that was just when I was at the very beginning. And I already knew how to long arm, which was also a benefit because I had quilted at the quilt shop for 6 years before buying my own. So that was great too. And I'm so glad I didn't wait personally because like my husband was in school. We were broke college students, but I had a decent income from that. And then when we went to buy our house, I had saved up half the down payment to buy our house, all from the quilting money. So,
oh, wow.
I think that he was glad that we didn't wait until I had the money to buy it. And I was glad. And then I bought my second machine before my first machine was paid off because I was like, I want employees to help and that income will help. Anyways, it's just been like such a blessing. And I think sometimes in business, we're scared to take the risks. But for me, it definitely worked out. And I'm really grateful because the 2 machines really allows us to get more quilts for more people in a timely manner. And it allowed me to hire employees, which is really helpful now that I have children, because now that I have children, it's a trickier balance of work and life. So,
right.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you shared that because I probably needed to hear that. And when my wife gets home from work today, this is like a week and a half before this even airs. I'm going to show her immediately today. Be like, look, this is her story. Maybe we should, because we were thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, that's quite the investment. If we're really going to get it, we better be ready to go. And then I'm thinking maybe not yet, maybe down the road. But
Just
You
be
did it.
prepared
So
to have batting stored in your kitchen or something.
yeah.
That will be
Okay.
good.
Yeah. Keep it. Yeah. The space might be tight, but it could be worth it. So
Yeah.
especially half your down payment for your house when you did buy a house. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It worked
So
out. It worked out in our circumstances, and I'm really grateful. So, yeah.
awesome. All right.
I'm
Thank you.
glad. I'm glad you mentioned it too, because I've always thought that Isabel would be an amazing quilt. She's super creative and she draws and doodles, and so I've always thought she'd be able to do amazing custom work too. So I'm glad we brought this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and people always are like, but do we need more long arm quilters? And I'm like, there are new people quilting, starting to make quilts all the time, and we
Yeah.
always need long arm quilters. So I love that there's opportunities to support long arm quilters out there now too. I'm a part of the Long Arm League community, which is Jess Ziegler, and she hosts it. And it's such a great membership because it gives you resources for all sorts of stuff. And I actually joined that membership. I think I had been in business like 6 years by then, so I felt like I had a pretty well-oiled machine, but it's amazing how, like, having support and having different information and learning how different people do different things makes you realize you can improve your business and grow your business in different ways. And so I think we always need more long arm quilters in the world.
Yeah. I love that. You'll have to send a link over for that organization too, so we can
Yeah,
share
I for
that.
sure will. She's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you start being a quilter? I think I know a little bit of this story because I know your mom too, but just give us a little bit of an insight into how you started sewing and quilting.
Well, I was 11 years old and I was really into the Pottery Barn teen magazine when it would show up at my house. And I
Yes.
always was like, Mom, I want to decorate my room. I want everything to match. And it would be so fun. And I shared a room with my younger sister at the time. And my mom had gotten a sewing machine. My dad had bought her a sewing machine, but she did a little sewing. She like made dresses for us and Halloween costumes. And she started dabbling in quilting. She took like a couple of classes at local shops, and she's like, "Well, let's make a quilt," you know? And I was like, "Okay." And I think about this now and I'm like, I was 11 years old and she took me to the craft store. It was in the Ace Hardware. It was Benjamin Franklin.
Yes, I know
and,
that one.
and we picked out a pattern, and it was a churn dash quilt pattern. And I had this picture that I Crayola markered what colors I wanted. Like, I drew it out and I colored it in, and I took it to the store, and the lady that helped me was such a dear, and she was like, "I have just the fabric for you." And she like pulled out this stack of bright rainbow colored fabric under that were she had been hiding for herself under the counter, and she was like, "I think you need some of this," which I like love that story now because I worked at a quilt shop for 6 years, and I'm like, "Oh, I was totally stashing that so that I could get it before it sold out or whatever." I was like totally that employee, and I love that she shared her fabric with me. So that was my first quilt, and then my second quilt was the exact same pattern with a different color sashing for my little sister, so we'd have matching quilts. So I did both of those quilts between like 11 and 13 years old. And
Oh,
my first quilt I sewed with 5/8 inch seam allowance because we didn't know. My mom just had sewn clothes. So I love that part too. We rolled our fabric over from the back to the top to bind it. We didn't know about binding. Anyways, but I love that. I love that you just learn. So I made my third quilt when I was 14. And it was just fabric I had saved up to buy myself. And I took block of the month classes with my mom, I think when I was about 14 too. And always took sewing classes in high school. I'm still really good friends with my high school sewing teacher, which is great.
cool.
And I think the long arm element came in because my high school had a long arm in their sewing lab, which I know isn't super common, but the sewing teacher wanted one and they got one. It didn't have a stitch regulator, but I got to get a little bit familiar with using it. And so then my senior year of high school is when I started working at Quilted Works in St. George, Utah. So my mom had got a part-time job there just like a few months before me. And I was like, tell him I want a job. Tell him I want to work there. And the owner at the time was like, yeah, have her come in like in the afternoons or whatever, and I'll teach her on the long arm. And I don't think I originally was like, yeah, I want a long arm. I just wanted a job to work there. I kind of wanted to
Right.
work in the fabric, but she said she would train me on the long arm. And I was like really excited about that because then I could quilt my own quilts. And anyways, but that changed my life forever. It really did. So that's
Oh,
kind of
I had never heard that whole story. And I didn't realize that you and your mom kind of did the quilting journey together
yeah.
too.
We totally learned how to quilt
Wow.
together.
And I remember going into the store to pick up quilts that I had dropped off. And I remember a couple times you were there and you said, "Oh, I quilted these for you." And I was so excited. And your mom, yeah, she was the best. She was always so friendly. And then I realized you were mother and daughter. And yeah.
Well, I was going to say for my senior gift, my mom was like, I'm going to buy you a sewing machine. And they sold Pfaff sewing machines there. And I was like, I don't want a Pfaff. I want a Bernina. And she's like, I can't go buy a Bernina when I'm a Pfaff dealer, like at my job. And I was like, well, figure it out, Mom. That's how ornery of a teenager I was. So she gave me her Bernina. That's what I learned to sew on was the machine my dad got her. And she gave it to me as my graduation gift. And then she bought herself a new Pfaff, which I was thrilled about because I just wanted a Bernina.
Right.
Anyway, but then I started sewing on Pfaff machines more as I worked there, and now I have like 5 Pfaff sewing machines.
Oh,
So
you do?
that's what
Oh,
I
wow.
sew on now. I love my Bernina too.
My girls, there was actually a sewing class at their high school, and they had a long arm too. And I tried bribing Candace and Chelsea, take that sewing class, but I was not as successful as your mom. So,
You know, I
so
just always think back at how grateful I am that as an 11-year-old, my mom like spent the time, spent the money, you know, to take me to pick out that fabric because I'm like, it's not a super cheap hobby but it's a definitely something that I tried to like think back like, oh, was I like way interested or like what was it? I don't know. I think it was the colors. I think it was the design. I don't it's like funny, I like don't think of myself as a super artist, but like fabric is its own medium, right? So that
uh-huh.
way now I'm like, oh yeah. But I'm just like so grateful every day that my mom, you know, tried to like hone in and enhance those skills that I
Yeah.
was interested in and give me the opportunity to do it. So
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. Now that you've been in business for 9+ years, what are your favorite parts of the business? What are your favorite things you get to do as a quilter, as a designer? Um, I mean, do you love what parts do you love and maybe even what parts do you not love?
I, as I was thinking about this question, I was like, man, I think I do so many things because then I get to do everything. I think that's one thing I love about quilting is just there's so many opportunities, you know, like you can make a wall hanging or a quilt or a bag or whatever. And so I want to do all of it. I really do. And so I think that when I started long arm quilting, I was like, yeah, I want to be able to make the quilt, sew the quilt the quilt, bind the quilt, like the whole thing. I want to do all of it. And I do have an aspiration to be a pantograph designer too. So then I can design the quilting panto on the quilt too. But there's got to be more hours in the day when I do that. But
Yeah.
so I think my favorite things are obviously sewing. I love taking the time to sew samples. I think I sewed about 18 samples for Quilt Market, which was kind of wild, but I love like my husband kept saying like have someone else help you and I'm like this is why I started this job so that I could sew for my job
Yeah.
cuz I love it so much. So I think the sewing and the quilting is my favorite part. I love picking pantograph designs for people's quilts. That's like one of my favorite things is trying to figure out the perfect design for people's quilts. Lately, I've really loved developing products. So adding products, like curating a shop of that I would like to shop at for bag supplies. So my online shop is my patterns and bag supplies basically. So that's been really fun. So the most recent thing that we've added is sew-in labels.
Oh,
So I have
yeah.
this little board that I have of like all of my sew-in labels. Um,
Oh, those are super cute.
So I just launched all the icon ones, which are like the bows, the cherries, tulips. I've had made with love ones out for a long time. The mini sawtooth star ones are probably my favorite. There's
So
8 different
cute.
colors in the pack. Pencils and the pens and the markers are coming soon. Those are sneak peek
Oh.
of something. I haven't released those ones yet. Anyways, so that's been so fun because I worked with my friend who's a designer, and she did a lot of the artwork of those. So that's been fun. I'm adding zippers to my shop soon.
Oh, good.
So I decided I wanted to curate like the brightest, happiest colors of these are just 4. I think we have 10 colors that will be coming soon. So that's something
Oh,
I really loved. I didn't think I would love that as much, but now it's like, oh, when I can't find something, I'm like, oh, can I source it? Can I bring it into the shop? Can we share it with everyone else? So
yeah.
that's been a lot of fun.
Those are great colors, by the way. I love them.
Thank you. I'm really excited about them. And that's the thing. I was like, where are the bright colors? But I just like bright colors. And this is another one of my bags that I made. I thought this is perfect to encapsulate all of the things that I love so much. Bright
Oh,
colors,
yes.
neon colors, and bright colors. So that's a lot. But because I get to design patterns, I love figuring out a new pattern. That's my favorite part of the pattern process is figuring out the construction and the sizes and the pieces. Writing the pattern is the more not fun part,
Right.
even though
Yeah.
it's like the means to the end. But
Right. No, I was super excited when I did the patchwork duffel because I wanted to do the carrying strap, and I love that I could just go to your shop and I got the little kit with all the pieces. I didn't even have to think about it. Yeah, so I love that too, that you have those finishing kits and
yeah,
uh,
I want to make it easy for everybody to get the supplies that they need.
yeah.
So hopefully we are doing that.
Yeah, and it shipped super fast. I kind of decided to make this last minute before a trip, and so yeah, thank you for shipping super
Oh,
fast.
you're welcome.
Also,
Welcome.
how do you come up with your project list and your creative goals? And also the organizer and planner in me wants to know how you keep track of everything.
What's funny, I grabbed this to show you, but this is what I've done for years. Maker Valley has project sheets that she gives free downloads every year.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny, these say 2024. I think she uploaded her 2025 ones like after I had already like started. I was like, I need new ones to fill them out. And so I kind of like customize them a little bit because it's like quilts to make in 2024. And I write bags because I want my bag project list and my quilt project list to be separate. But I was
Oh,
just looking at these. I've made 58 bags this year so far that have been recorded.
wow.
So I like to write the fabric and the like what they're for because I did a lot of samples for H&H and I did a lot of samples for Quilt Market. So I like to write down all of those things so that I can kind of keep track of the memory of them too. And then some of them are whips too, like from years past. So I always try to like bring in a work in progress in the middle in the year, but I wish I had a better organizing process than that. That's how I just like keep track of my makes. But I feel like you'd probably relate to this. As a business owner, like you think, okay, I'm going to do this. So my creative goal is 4 patterns a year. That's just my like goal every year. I feel like I've fallen into a rhythm that I can do 4 patterns a year throughout the year. And I have a list of patterns I want to do. And I think, oh, these are the 4 I'm going to pick. And these are kind of when I'm going to pick them. But then opportunities come up and collaborations come up and different things, or it's like I did this palace pouch. This is one of my patterns. This was I think you shared about it in your email too. When I designed this pattern, it was strictly just to do as a fundraiser for Ukraine
Right.
because I traveled to Ukraine last year with a nonprofit and we were fundraising to raise money for a home for a gentleman there. The organization does modular homes anyways. But so this was not like a pattern on my radar. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to design this pouch pattern, and it comes with 2 sizes. So this is the large size. But I was like, what could I do to, make an exchange for people to give me a little bit of money for this project? And so we donated almost I think it was the first $9,000 in sales. We donated straight to Anatoly's home. So those
Yeah.
things come up, and that's always so fun to just roll with,
Yeah.
be like, yeah, let's do that. Right. You know? So
I love that. I made one of your little pouches, like the smallest one. It's almost like a coin purse.
was it the Cove Clutch? It was
Uh,
probably the Cove Clutch.
yes, that's what it was, the Cove Clutch. I'd made this smallest one, and I keep my AirPods in it.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I love it because I can just take it when I travel. I just throw it in my purse, and they're kind of protected in that little case. And
I need to do that. Maybe I wouldn't lose my AirPods every other week.
yeah, and when my granddaughter saw it, and now she wants one for Christmas for her AirPods. So
What a cute idea.
yeah, that's a fun one. Let's see. So you mentioned already that you have 2 young children, and I feel like we do have a lot of viewers who are at the same stage of life that you're in, and we do get emails all the time like, how do you get everything done? And do you have a certain time that you sew, a certain time that you design, or how do you fit it all in as a young entrepreneur and also mother of 2?
Well, I do have childcare, and that has allowed me to do everything that I do. I have a nanny, and just new to us in our household since August, she's back in school, so she's only working 3 days a week for us. And so I'm only working Monday, Wednesday, Fridays now. And honestly, I love it. Like, I'm so glad I get the time to be with my kids. It's what I've been working towards for a long time, is to make sure that I can spend the time with my kids. And I love working too, so I don't think there's any shame in being a working mom. But I do love that my kids are in my home because I can go out at lunch and see them. So I'm very grateful for that. But so Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are my work days.
Okay.
And Mondays are usually a heavy order day. So I help with orders Mondays. And then I just try to figure out what's on the docket for the list. If we have orders to fill for distributing companies, and I have a big calendar on my wall now in my desk. So I try to calendar out like when pattern launches are going to be, when sew-alongs are going to be, because I know now that I only have the bandwidth to do maybe 2 sew-alongs a year, or different things like that. So I try to just I'm very flexible because, with little kids, you have to be flexible. But I
Right.
try to just set blocks of time. Like, okay, QuiltCon is around this time, and H&H or Quilt Market or whatever events I'm going to choose to go to that year, and in what capacity I'm going to go. Because I vended at QuiltCon last year. This was the first time vending in a retail event, and it was so stressful.
Are you vending again this year?
No.
No? It looked like so much work. I think I followed along and saw you taking your road trip,
Yes.
and
Well,
it
Phoenix
looked
was
like a
drivable.
lot.
North Carolina's not quite I mean, I know it's drivable, but it's way more time away from my family than I'm willing to at this stage.
Yeah,
But one thing that I'm really grateful, as a pattern designer, I kind of learned and felt like, oh, like I came here to share my patterns. And then on top of that, I have to bring all the stuff to sell too, because, you want to make the expense worth your time and everything, whatever.
right,
I don't really care that much about selling everything else. I mostly just want to share my patterns. And so many vendors, so many shops were had my samples or patterns in their shops. And I was like, I just want to support the wholesale shops, the quilt shops that are carrying my stuff. So I'm
right.
hoping to figure out how to reach out to them and say, how can I support you as a designer, in that capacity? So,
Yeah.
because I'm really
I
grateful. I think our quilt shops are the lifeblood of this industry. They keep everything going. They're buying our fabric and buying our patterns and all of that. So it's I kind of had that awakening at that event, and I loved it, and I'm really glad I did it, but one is enough
yeah.
now.
I love that too. I kinda had that awakening attending the motivation events the last 2 years where I saw that was an event for shop owners, and we got to interact with them. And it was the same thing. You just want to know, how can we support you as designers? Because you are the ones working 24/7 to bring our products to the customers. And yeah, so I think that's a great perspective. I've never wanted to vent at QuiltCon. Or people sometimes write and say, why don't you stay for Quilt Festival? And I like, no, I can't. I know that is so much work, but again, yeah, I feel like it's just great to be able to help the shop owners and
Yeah.
in any way we can.
Yeah. So I want to go to QuiltCon and have fun with everybody, but not be
Right.
tied to my booth. or
Right.
And I taught 2 classes at QuiltCon this year too, which I think maybe that's where I went wrong. Not that teaching was awesome.
Right.
Vending was awesome, but the 2 together was way stressful for me. And it was just me and my husband, and then I had friends that were like filling in while I was teaching, and I think I
Yeah.
was just like underprepared for the experience, but worth it. But
Yes. Oh, are you going to be at H&H in May?
I am hoping to attend H&H, but I'm not
Okay.
vending. I think sometimes we just say yes, 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 and I'm like, okay, I have to pace myself a
Yeah.
little bit. So I vended for the first time. That was my first B2B event and vending, and I did it all by myself in 2 suitcases. I packed up what I could in 2 suitcases and set up the booth by myself, and it was amazing. I loved that. So that's what I enjoyed more than QuiltCon, because it's like I had time to talk to shop owners and
Right.
and then people who were like, I love your All the Things tote. What other patterns can we share with our customers? And I was like, let me show you, and let me show you the sample, and so they could see it. And we could talk about like, how could you sell extra products or classes or whatever else, because that's really, like I said, it's like the shops. They're the lifeblood of this industry. They keep it all going, and I'm grateful for that. So I was super happy to be there in that capacity. And I think I'll try and go and bend again, but I think I'll probably do like every other year. At least
Oh,
that's the plan right now.
yeah, that's great. Well, Chelsea and I will be at H&H, so we will have to connect while
Yeah.
we're there.
Yes, for sure.
Any trends you're seeing right now? I feel like you have a little bit different audience than we do, and so I feel like you're probably really aware maybe of some trends that I might not have noticed yet, and
Well, the
and
trend
maybe
the trend that I was thinking was like quilted things. Like
yeah,
quilted things, right? Quilted bags, quilted
yeah.
clothing, which it's funny, I didn't even plan it, but I got my quilted jacket on. And people are making quilted wrap skirts and
Yes.
vests. To me, that feels like pretty trendy right now. I was going to say, like, I do think these sew-in labels are pretty trendy right now. I think, and one of the reasons why I love these so much in conjunction with my patterns is because you can sew them into every bag binding or every quilt binding. They work so well with
Yeah.
bindings, like quilted binding bound things. So anyways, I was thinking that I don't know. Oh, and then I was thinking there's so many different avenues. So like with long arm quilting, I feel like there was a trend for a while where we did our designs so big. Like it was like, oh, let's scale that design really big. And I think now the designs are getting more intricate, more
Condensed,
denser
tighter.
designs. Yeah. And I love that. I love that trend. I love more quilting. I think
Yeah.
there's more. um, and I do think with long arm quilting, a trend is like colored thread, whereas like it used to just be like, let's just do neutrals, and people are
Yeah.
like, no, give me some neon or give me some, I want the color to stand out, which is
Uh,
really difficult for me sometimes because I'm like, oh no, your piecing is the art. Like we're just trying to give it some texture,
y
but
yeah.
that is definitely something that I've seen over the last probably year or two that people are like, I want more colored stitching. So
Even on background spaces, like really light areas?
yes,
Really?
yes,
Yeah. See, I don't know if I could embrace that yet.
I know. Yeah, it's different. I mean, And maybe that's just my small scope that I've been seeing, but like people are doing darker quilts too. Remember when like white backgrounds were like such a
Yes.
thing, and now I feel like we're doing more like not white background quilts. And so then they're like, okay, well, we don't want white thread on that, or the midnight garden
Exactly.
quilt that people have been making where they're doing like the flowers in the black background. So those
Right.
ones always feel a little trickier to quilt for me because I'm like, okay, what color are we gonna do on this? So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I know Chelsea and we generally still use white backgrounds for everything, but I love when people send in a picture and they've made one of our patterns and used a darker background. And we are always just, ooh and ah, and I just think, oh, I should try that one of these times. I should get out of my comfort zone and do that.
It's
Yeah.
always fun to try, but I think it's hard too because
Yes.
on my own quilts, I'm like, okay, let's just stick with cream thread.
Right.
All blends.
Exactly. Okay, well, anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about? Or I know you mentioned you have a pattern release coming still later this year.
Yes, I have one more pattern coming in
Okay.
December. I don't
Okay.
know what day yet. It's a surprise.
Okay. I can't wait.
I think it's going to be a fun one. So
Oh,
I'm
good.
very excited about it.
Oh, good. Well, I always love your patterns, so I will be anticipating that.
Thank you.
I had a couple follow-up questions after everything there.
Okay.
One thing, is it fair to say that you're a bag specialist then? With
Sure.
yeah,
Quilted
okay,
bags. I would say
quilted
quilted bags.
bags.
Absolutely. Sure.
Because of all the different patterns you've shown, I can see your background and everything. So as you design those, do they come based on like needs that you have, or how do you come up with so many different designs, or is it just ideas you see from other people's needs, or how does that work?
I think it's all of those things. But
Okay.
for instance, like this is my violet backpack pattern. So it's
So
just like a
cute.
small purse backpack, or it could be like a small backpack for a toddler, and it's named after my little girl, Violet. But I was at Disneyland and I saw these backpacks everywhere. I think they're the Loungefly. They have the characters on them. And I was like, oh my gosh, those are so cute. Like, I want a quilted backpack to take to Disneyland. Like, what a great idea. And so I went home and I kind of like looked at specs of different sizes to kind of get a general size of like, okay, I want it to be like, I think this is about 9 inches wide, or I don't know how exactly what they are, but and then I kind of just was like, okay, I want a zipper pocket and I want pockets inside, and so that's how this one came about. And then the Archie backpack, which is the size larger, came because people were like, well, I want a full size backpack, and I was like, well, I have a backpack pattern, we'll scale it up for school. So that was kind of like the request and the needs of what people were wanting. And then this is probably one of my very favorite patterns, the All the Things tote. And I had attended a quilt retreat, and a bunch of people had these like pretty structured totes. I don't know how else. They had like bars in them or whatever, and I was like, those are so handy to like keep your projects organized in them. And I'm like, I wonder if we could do like a quilted bag similar. So that's kind of where that came from, but that definitely was a need because I was like, I need bags to take to all my sewing events. And so that's where this one came. And I finished my very first prototype and went to a sewing night that same day. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a good one. Like, people are going to love this one. And it really probably has been one of my top selling patterns. And it's very beginner friendly because there's no zippers, there's no hardware, and it's very customizable. So I've seen people that are like, oh, but I want a zipper pocket on one end. So they just add a zipper, or they've added ties on the top to keep it so that it can be closed, or, different. And people have, paper pieced patterns or done quilt blocks or like made it their own in ways that I could have never imagined when I was writing the pattern. And I think that's one of my favorite things about bags is people get to do it's their canvas, right? And then they get to add to it, customize, embellish however they want it to. So,
Yeah. See, I love seeing how big now I want to make one now that I see on video how big it is. Sometimes I feel like you look at just a picture on Instagram or online and you don't realize the size and if you don't take the time to go look at the specifications.
yeah.
The size looks amazing. I'm thinking as when you pulled it out, I was just like, I was like, wow, I wonder if I can make one of those before my trip. You know?
So there's 3 sizes in this one. This is the largest size.
Okay.
The only thing that changes is how wide it is.
Oh,
This is the exact same for all of them.
okay.
So it's just a few inches smaller.
Oh,
But I use the smallest size as like a church bag. So I take it to church and fill it with all my kids' snacks and books and quiet activities. And that's
right.
great. That's been really great for that. The large one is my favorite because I use it all the time for like sewing outings or package returns or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the thing that I wanted to show is that it has a sleeve in the bottom and then it holds a stabilizer. So there's a base stabilizer you can get that's like acrylic. So it gives it pretty good structure on the bottom. So then
Oh,
when you're carrying a lot of stuff, like I've even carried my travel sewing machine in one because it's
wow.
the base at the bottom. So
Yeah.
anyways, it's on my list to have a photo shoot with models for all of the samples because
Oh,
I know how hard it is to imagine like what size is that? And I send all my bags out for photography, but there's never models there. So I'm like, I'm gonna do that.
right.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
On the list.
Oh, I love that. Yep. Well, I'll be buying that pattern soon. You made Vanessa's bag in her booth at Quilt Market, right?
Yeah. Both the Vanessas.
Both of the Vanessas. Okay.
Yes, I made them both Patrick Duffels, and then Vanessa Christensen had all the things tote and an
Okay.
everyday tote as well. So
Okay.
I still
Awesome.
haven't shared those. I need to share all the bags that I made because I took photos of everything. So I need to
Yeah.
post those.
Earlier, you mentioned studio and everything, and you had the one online course for beginner bags. Do you also do other, like you said, lives? Do you do other tutorials with some of those bags, or are you just more showing them, or what do you do with those?
So whenever we do a sew along, I always do a live each week of the sew along. So then I try to give all the tips that you can't jam pack into a pattern. So
Okay,
we've done a sew along on the All the Things tote and the Patchwork Duffel and the Violet and Archie backpack. That was our newest one this summer. And all of those videos now I've started downloading them and putting them on YouTube so that you
okay,
can pause and speed up because I know that that's just easier than Instagram. So I try to keep those there so people can reference them. If you're like, oh, I'm going to make an All the Things tote, like, you can go find those on my YouTube channel. And we're working on doing more like tutorial type stuff. If there's like a challenging part of a pattern, I try to film that part and just put up a short video. I don't have like the means or the capacity at this moment to do full length videos of every pattern. But it is like always on our list when we're doing a new pattern, like, okay, what part can we share tips about or things like that. So
awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll put all that in the description of this podcast so that people can find those, because we actually had a writer a few episodes ago ask about like where can I find more video content when making bags, and remember that, mom? And
Yeah.
so I mean
Yeah.
this is perfect, especially if
It's
they
perfect.
see these bags and everything. So
Yeah.
okay, awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
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 And then last thing, and then I'll be done, but you already sort
Oh,
of
okay.
mentioned it. I was looking at your backpacks, and and you talked about them, but I mean, are those? I would find those to be probably very popular when you started making those patterns. Was that something? Is that a big thing for you as well? Those backpack patterns?
The backpacks have done well.
Uh-huh.
They came out, well, let's see, the Violet backpack came out, I think, before the Patchwork Duffel. The Patchwork Duffel was the pattern that everybody went crazy over. And I
Okay.
really think that was kind of the gateway to like my quilting audience into bag making, right?
Mm.
Because what I shared, my content on Instagram was like, these are the quilt type long arms, you know? And so people that were quilters were following me then. And then I was doing bags and marketing those, and they were doing all right too. But when I think people saw the patchwork in the duffel bag that they could make a quilt and then quilt it up and make it into a bag, that was really the pattern that I think really connected those two audience, like, or helped quilters realize, oh, I can make bags too, and I can do it using, my skills as a quilter. And so since then, I think those patterns have done better, because once they make a patchwork duffel, it's like, okay, I can do a zipper, I can do the binding, I can do the straps and the hardware, and then it helps them utilize those skills to make the backpacks. So
That's awesome. And
we did just have about 1,400 people in the sew along this summer.
okay. Yeah.
So yeah. And I was
That's
super
awesome.
happy because there were a lot of finished backpacks showing up on social media. So
Are those are they I'm the non-quilter in this group, but is that a difficult thing? Is that something a beginner can make a backpack, or is that more of an advanced
I'm
pattern?
always an enthusiast about people's skills.
Okay.
So I think if you can quilt, you can make a backpack.
Okay.
I really do. I know that there are challenging parts, but the zipper installation is a straight seam. It's not, and I know this is curved here, but when you're installing it, it's also straight sewing. The most difficult part is finding the seams on the inside.
Oh,
And I
okay.
know people that just don't bind their seams and are fine with raw edges. That's probably the most difficult part. But I do have videos.
Yeah.
In the last so long we did, I bound one side live on the video, so you can watch the whole process of that.
Awesome.
And I try to give as many tips as possible. So yes, I think I'm an optimist. I do think if you know how to rotary cut, you know how to quilt, you know how to sew straight seams, I think you could do it.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this whole interview has been awesome to see so many of your projects too. I think that's the most like show and tell we've seen. I think viewers are really gonna appreciate that.
Yeah, and I also, for your patterns, if you send your fabric out to be quilted, if you have somebody else quilt the soft and stable, I love doing that because then I can just jump right into the project, and it takes off all that time of having to quilt, so.
That is actually a product offering that we've started doing, where we sell pre-quilted bag panels. So this was the first
Awesome.
time I ever did this. We bought this collection of fabric and then launched it at QuiltCon. And we sold through everything we took, but I still had more fabric because I did that as like a filler when we're slower on quilting. We can quilt fabric, and we always quilt it with soft and stable. So we sell it in 1 yard and half yard cuts. And currently we just have this collection, but we have fabric coming.
Oh,
So
awesome.
we're really excited about the offerings of that in the future because
Awesome.
I know how much time it takes to quilt. So
Yeah.
but as long arm quilter, we also would be happy to quilt whatever fabric you pick as well. And we carry soft and stable on the roll. So you don't even have to ship that to us because we already have it.
Oh,
So
perfect.
it saves you on shipping costs. And
Yeah. See, that's good for our viewers to know too. Because I just feel like there are really a lot of people still that they're looking for Longmorn quilters. There might not be one in their local area. And so they love hearing about places where they can mail something and have it quilted and get it back. So
that's the great thing about the Long Arm League, the membership I was telling you about, is they have a directory by state, and probably I know that there's people outside of the US in their membership as well. So if there's international viewers, so then you can look up wherever you are and see if there's long arm quilters near you. So that could be a great resource for people to find quilters. But I would say 80 or 90% of our business is mail in. So we're always happy to take quilts from wherever. So I just had a quilt arrive from Singapore this week.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I was pretty shocked, but
Yeah. Okay, well, last question, and this is a non-quilting question that I just it seems like so many of the business podcasts and just everyday podcasts that I listen to, they're starting to ask questions like this at the end. So the question is just something you're looking forward to. And it doesn't have to be quilting related. It can be, but it can be anything.
Okay. Can it be kind of two things?
Yes.
So I have a group of quilting friends locally that last year was our first year doing it. We decided that as quilters, we often never get quilts. So we wanted to do like a quilt swap and make quilts for each other.
Oh.
So we kind of just had a little questionnaire of like what we like, what we don't like, what our interests are, pattern designers or fabric designers. And then they kind of, one person like mixed them up and just mellowed them out. And so all year we've been working on a quilt for our swap partner. And that is next Saturday. So I guess it will be right before this airs. We'll have exchanged our quilt. So I'm still only about halfway finished with mine. So I'm excited for it to be finished and to give it.
Yeah.
And then just following that, my husband and I are taking a trip to Costa Rica. So really, really looking forward to just a little break and some sunshine. So
awesome.
Just the two of us, which
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So,
are grandparents watching the kids then?
Thankful for grandparents. Thank goodness
Yes.
for grandparents, right? I'm so grateful. Yeah, we have a couple grandparents splitting the shifts. So
awesome. That's perfect. Well, this was so much fun, Caitlyn. I'm so glad we got to do this interview. I'm so glad that
thank you so much for having me. I love you so much. I've loved you for so long.
Oh, you're the best. You're the best. And now I just want to go make more of your patterns too. So
we just need some quilting in our future.
And I think you're going to have a discount code you were going to tell our listeners about too.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited to offer a discount code for 20% off any pattern, PDF or paper pattern, from now until November 24th. So it's active for a couple weeks. It will be 20% off. And that code is a Quilting Life 20.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll put all this in the description too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's it for our interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that I always love talking to Caitlyn. She's very inspiring and so creative and talented. We will be back in 2 weeks on Monday, November 24th, and I will share a little bit about the sewcation then, and Chelsea will be back and Billy will be back. We'll kind of have our normal podcast episode format then. Thanks so much for stopping by.